Most men think they need to impress women with words, status, or confidence. But the truth is, once you understand this one shift, everything changes. The moment you stop trying to control love and start learning to connect with it, you unlock a level of attraction and peace you've never known before. If you're ready to master emotional intelligence, understand the psychology of love, and transform the way you connect, hit subscribe to Reset Psychology. Every video here is designed to help you heal, grow, and attract deeper connections through awareness, not effort. Because once your mind resets, your whole reality changes. Presence is more powerful than words because it speaks a language far deeper than speech. When a man is truly present with a woman, she feels something that cannot be faked or fabricated. She feels seen. In a world where attention is scattered, where eyes are glued to screens and minds are lost in worries, presence becomes a rare form of love. It is not about saying the right thing. It is about being the right energy. When a man is fully there, mentally, emotionally, and energetically, she feels it in every cell of her being. His calm breath tells her she is safe, his stillness tells her she matters, and his gaze tells her she is not invisible. Presence creates connection, and connection builds trust. Without it, even the most romantic words feel hollow. Presence requires awareness. It is the art of quieting the mind long enough to actually feel the moment you are in. Most men listen to respond, but few listen to understand. They hear words, but they miss the emotion behind them. To be present means to drop the need to perform, defend, or fix, and instead, to feel. When a woman talks about her day, her fears, her insecurities, she is not asking for a solution. She is asking for a witness. She is asking for your awareness to hold space for her experience. That awareness is love in its purest form. When you stop trying to change her feelings and start embracing them, you create a silent bond of trust that no explanation could ever replace. Presence also reveals strength, not weakness. The man who can stay still in the middle of emotional intensity is a man in command of himself. He does not get lost in her storm. He becomes the calm within it. When a woman cries, yells, or withdraws, many men panic or retreat. But the man who stays grounded, who looks into her eyes and says through his energy, "I am here," becomes unforgettable. She doesn't remember the arguments or the apologies. She remembers the energy of safety. Presence communicates what words cannot. You are not alone in this moment. That message soothes the feminine heart more deeply than any promise. True presence demands vulnerability. You cannot be present while hiding behind pride or pretending to be perfect. To be truly there means to allow your heart to open, to let her feel your real emotions, not as weakness, but as truth. Presence is honesty without words. It says, "I am not above you, I am with you." It says, "I am not trying to impress you, I am here to understand you." When a man can look at a woman and make her feel that she doesn't need to earn his attention, that she already has it, her guard drops, her heart softens, and her energy flows freely. That is when real intimacy begins. Every woman can feel the difference between attention and presence. Attention looks, presence feels. Attention comes and goes, presence stays. When a man's mind wanders, she senses disconnection instantly. But when his energy anchors into the moment, when he listens not just with his ears, but with his entire being, she feels safe enough to reveal her authentic self. In that sacred space, she doesn't need to impress, perform, or hide. She can breathe. And when a woman can breathe around a man, she begins to trust him on a level that words can never reach. Presence is not something you do, it is something you become. It is the natural result of mastering your own inner stillness. When your thoughts stop racing, when your emotions stop controlling you, when your energy is rooted in calm awareness, you automatically radiate presence. And that presence changes everything. It melts defenses, builds attraction, and deepens connection. Once a man learns this, that a woman doesn't need a million words, She needs one moment of pure presence. He discovers that love was never about saying more, it was always about being more. Emotional safety is the foundation of every meaningful relationship because it is the invisible thread that allows two people to open, trust, and love without fear. For a woman, emotional safety is not just a preference, it is a need. It's the ground upon which her heart stands. When she feels safe, her natural femininity flows, her softness, her affection, her care, and her deep emotional intelligence emerge effortlessly. But when she feels unsafe, unheard, or judged, her energy retreats. She becomes guarded, defensive, and distant. Many men mistake this withdrawal as rejection, but in truth, it's protection. A woman cannot blossom in an environment where her emotions are not safe to exist. To create emotional safety, a man must learn the art of emotional steadiness. This means not reacting from ego, not taking her feelings personally, and not making her emotions about him. When a woman expresses sadness, frustration, or confusion, she isn't asking for him to fix her. She's asking him to witness her without judgment. This is where most men lose connection. They get uncomfortable when emotions arise, so they either shut down or try to control the situation. But a man who understands emotional safety knows that her emotions are not chaos. They are communication. Each feeling is a message asking to be heard. When he can stay calm and receptive instead of defensive, she feels understood, and understanding breeds trust. Emotional safety doesn't mean agreeing with everything she says or walking on eggshells to avoid conflict. It means creating a space where truth can be spoken without fear. It means she can share her thoughts, her wounds, and her dreams without being mocked, dismissed, or belittled. When a man responds with empathy instead of ego, he builds a connection that no superficial attraction can replace. He becomes the place she can exhale, the presence she can trust, and the energy that allows her to feel at home. A woman in emotional safety becomes radiant. Her laughter becomes fuller, her eyes brighter, her energy more nurturing. This transformation is not because the man changed her, but because he allowed her to return to her natural self. A man's grounded energy acts like soil for her emotional roots, firm, nurturing, and consistent. The deeper his emotional intelligence, the more her love grows. He doesn't demand her peace, he provides it through his stability. But emotional safety also requires consistency. One calm moment cannot undo days of emotional neglect. It is built over time through reliability, through the little things like showing up, keeping promises, and listening with sincerity. When a man's actions align with his words, a woman's nervous system relaxes. Her heart no longer questions, "Can I trust him?" because his consistency answers that question every day. There is nothing more powerful than a man who can hold space for a woman's emotions without losing his own center. That steadiness communicates love more deeply than any grand gesture. It says, "I'm not afraid of your depth." And when a woman feels that, she begins to open her heart more fully. She doesn't need to overthink, compete, or protect herself. She simply is. That kind of connection heals her, and in return, her love heals him. When a man becomes emotionally safe, he becomes magnetic. He no longer needs to chase attention or validation because his presence naturally invites trust and respect. He becomes the calm in her storm, the ground beneath her waves, the silence that listens when words are too heavy to speak. Emotional safety is not weakness. It is power in its most refined form. It is what turns attraction into love, love into devotion, and two separate lives into one unified energy. Once a man understands this truth, that his calmness is the key to her openness, everything about how he relates to women transforms forever. Men have been taught to fix things. From an early age, they're conditioned to solve problems, to take action, to find solutions. But what many never learn is that emotions are not problems. They are experiences. They cannot be fixed because they are not broken. They are meant to be felt. When a man tries to fix a woman's feelings, even with good intentions, He unknowingly sends a message that her emotions are inconvenient or irrational. But when he learns to feel instead of fix, to sit beside her storm instead of trying to stop the rain, he becomes a different kind of man. He becomes the one who understands that love is not a rescue mission, it's a space of presence, patience, and understanding. When a woman opens up emotionally, she is not always looking for advice or solutions. Often, she just wants to be seen and felt. Her emotions are waves, sometimes calm, sometimes intense, and all she needs is to know that the man beside her can stay steady through them. The moment he stops trying to make her calm down or move on, and instead just listens, holds her hand, and breathes through it with her, she begins to relax. She no longer feels judged or misunderstood. She feels accepted. And that acceptance is what heals her. It tells her that her emotions are valid, that her inner world matters, and that she doesn't have to hide the depth of her feelings to be loved. Trying to fix emotions is a form of resistance. It comes from discomfort, from not knowing how to sit with intensity. But feeling is not weakness, it is awareness. A man who has done his own inner work, who has faced his own emotions, understands this. He knows that emotions, whether his or hers, are energy passing through. They are not threats. They are teachers. So instead of running from discomfort, he remains grounded in it. He breathes through her tears, her frustration, her silence, and in doing so, he becomes her safety. She feels his presence not just in his words, but in his energy. And that energy tells her, "You don't have to change how you feel. I'm here with you, not against you." This is what creates deep connection. When a woman feels emotionally seen, she begins to trust not only the man, but also the space between them. That trust allows intimacy to deepen beyond the surface. Suddenly, communication becomes easier because she no longer has to filter or edit herself. She feels free to express her truth without fear of being fixed or corrected. That freedom is love in motion. It is the moment when a relationship shifts from performance to authenticity. Many men fear that if they don't offer solutions, they're being passive. But emotional support is not passivity, it's mastery. It takes great strength to resist the urge to control. It takes maturity to realize that your partner's emotions are not your responsibility to solve, but your opportunity to support. When a man can sit with discomfort, his or hers, without reacting, he demonstrates emotional intelligence far beyond words. He becomes an anchor in the emotional ocean, not a wave lost in the tide. Over time, this shift changes everything. The woman feels more relaxed, more affectionate, more loving. The relationship feels lighter because she no longer feels like she has to protect her emotions from him. Instead of guarding her heart, she lets him in. And he, in turn, begins to understand the beauty of simply being there. He realizes that love does not always require action. Sometimes it only requires presence. To stop fixing and start feeling is to evolve. It's a step away from ego and a step toward empathy. It's the moment when love stops being transactional and becomes transformational. When a man learns to hold space for a woman's feelings, without fear, without defense, without trying to fix, he touches her soul in a way no words ever could. He becomes not her hero, but her haven. And in that sacred space of emotional acceptance, both find peace, healing, and a love that finally feels like home. Emotional intelligence is the quiet strength that separates a man who reacts from a man who leads with depth and wisdom. It's not about suppressing emotions or pretending to be unaffected. It's about understanding them, both your own and those of others. True masculinity is not measured by how much a man can dominate or control, but by how deeply he can remain aware and compassionate even in the face of emotional intensity. Emotional intelligence is not softness, it is mastery. It allows a man to stay steady when others lose balance, calm when others panic, and understanding when others judge. Many men grow up believing emotions are weakness. They are told to be strong, to push through, to hide what they feel. But emotional suppression doesn't make a man stronger. It makes him disconnected. It builds walls inside him that keep him from feeling, from connecting, from loving. When a man cannot access his emotions, he becomes a prisoner of them. His anger controls him. His fear directs him. His ego defends him. He reacts instead of responds. But when he begins to develop emotional intelligence, when he learns to observe his feelings instead of being consumed by them, he becomes free. He stops being ruled by reaction and starts operating from awareness. A man with emotional intelligence doesn't avoid conflict. He navigates it with clarity. He listens before he speaks. He understands that behind every emotion there is a need to be heard, respected, valued, or understood. Instead of taking a woman's emotion as an attack, he learns to hear the message within it. If she's upset, he doesn't fight her energy with his ego. He stays calm, knowing that his calmness is not just strength for him, but safety for her. She feels his emotional maturity in the way he doesn't need to win an argument. He seeks understanding instead. Emotional intelligence also gives a man self-control. It allows him to pause between emotion and reaction. When anger rises, he can feel it, breathe, and choose a conscious response. This ability to pause is what defines inner strength. Any man can raise his voice. It takes a grounded man to stay silent when silence holds more power. Any man can walk away. It takes a strong man to stay present and centered through discomfort. This discipline of awareness transforms how he communicates, loves, and leads. In relationships, emotional intelligence becomes magnetic. A woman senses it immediately. She feels safe around a man who doesn't shame her emotions or mock vulnerability. She feels peace in his presence because his energy says, "I see you. I'm not here to fix or control you." That kind of energy draws her in deeper because it reflects emotional maturity, something rare and sacred. A woman can trust a man who can understand without judgment. She can relax, knowing he won't use her emotions against her. And in that safety, love grows effortlessly. But emotional intelligence isn't only about relationships, it's also about self-connection. It means a man knows how to name what he feels: anger, fear, guilt, sadness, and process it rather than bury it. It means he can forgive himself when he fails, learn from mistakes without shame, and keep growing without self-destruction. This inner understanding builds confidence from the inside out. It's not the fake confidence that comes from validation or control. It's the real confidence that comes from emotional mastery. When a man cultivates emotional intelligence, he becomes a new kind of masculine, strong yet sensitive, assertive yet empathetic, powerful yet peaceful. He no longer runs from emotions. He uses them as guides. He doesn't fear love. He deepens into it. He doesn't chase respect. He earns it naturally through his emotional maturity. In the end, emotional intelligence is not just about knowing what to feel, it's about choosing how to respond. And when a man learns that, he not only transforms his relationships with women, he transforms his entire life. A woman's behavior in a relationship often mirrors the emotional energy of the man she's with. This reflection is not about blame, it's about awareness. The dynamic between two people is a constant exchange of energy, emotion, and unspoken signals. When a man is calm, grounded, and emotionally secure, the woman naturally feels safe and relaxed. When he is distant, reactive, or unstable, she instinctively mirrors that energy. This is why many men find that the moment they heal themselves, their relationships begin to shift without forcing change on anyone else. A woman's response is often a reflection of a man's internal world. She amplifies what he brings into the space, not because she wants to, but because feminine energy naturally mirrors masculine presence. When a man is emotionally closed, a woman feels disconnected. Her intuition senses the lack of openness, and she begins to question, withdraw, or overthink. When he becomes defensive or shuts down during conflict, she feels unsafe and either becomes louder, more emotional, or more distant. These are not signs of disrespect. They are her nervous system responding to the lack of stability she feels from him. But the moment a man begins to lead from inner calm and emotional awareness, everything changes. Her energy softens, her tone becomes gentler, and her affection begins to flow again. This isn't manipulation, it's resonance. Masculine stability naturally invites feminine openness. The truth is, relationships act as mirrors that reveal what's unhealed within us. If a man feels constantly misunderstood, rejected, or unloved, it's often not just about the woman. It's about unresolved wounds within him being reflected back through her behavior. Maybe he carries childhood patterns of not feeling heard or respected, and when she expresses emotion, he feels criticized instead of curious. Maybe he fears abandonment, so he interprets her need for space as rejection. Once he becomes aware of these unconscious patterns, he stops reacting to her behavior and starts observing it as feedback. He realizes she is not the enemy. She's the mirror showing him where he still needs peace. When a man takes responsibility for his inner world, the dynamic begins to heal. Instead of saying, "She needs to change," he asks, "What is her behavior reflecting about me?" That question transforms everything. It shifts focus from control to consciousness. It allows him to see that when he becomes emotionally secure, she no longer needs to defend herself. When he listens with presence instead of pride, she feels safe to express her truth. And when he loves without fear, she no longer feels the need to test his loyalty. The energy between them moves from resistance to flow. This reflection principle also explains why emotionally intelligent men tend to attract harmony. Their calmness, self-awareness, and empathy create a vibration that draws peace. On the other hand, when a man is consumed by insecurity or unresolved anger, he often attracts chaos that mirrors his inner conflict. The world, and especially the women around him, respond to his emotional frequency. This is why healing is not selfish, it's essential. A man cannot lead or love from an empty or wounded space. The more he heals, the safer the people around him feel. A woman's mirror can be a powerful teacher if a man is willing to look with humility. Instead of blaming her reactions, he can see them as invitations to evolve. Her frustration might be calling for his attentiveness. Her sadness might be asking for his empathy. Her silence might be signaling his disconnection. Every reaction carries a message. When he learns to read these messages instead of resisting them, the relationship becomes a path to mutual growth rather than constant conflict. Ultimately, a woman reflects not who a man says he is, but who he truly is beneath the surface. When he becomes grounded, open-hearted, and emotionally aware, her energy aligns with his effortlessly. She becomes softer, more trusting, and more expressive because she feels his stability. That's the beauty of reflection. It reveals that love doesn't begin by changing the other person. It begins by changing the energy you bring. When a man understands that, he stops trying to control the mirror and starts transforming the reflection. And that is when love finally becomes harmony instead of struggle. Love was never meant to be a power struggle. It was always meant to be a dance. The beauty of this dance lies in harmony, not control. When a man understands that his role is not to dominate, dictate, or overpower, but to create rhythm, direction, and balance, everything in his relationship begins to shift. True connection doesn't come from trying to lead with force. It comes from leading with grounded energy and emotional presence. The dance of love requires two energies moving in flow, the masculine offering steadiness, clarity, and direction, and the feminine offering emotion, intuition, and softness. When both move in sync, there is no struggle, no winner or loser, only understanding and unity. Control kills intimacy. It turns love into a battlefield where both people fight to be right instead of striving to be close. Many men believe that leadership in love means having the final word or being the decision maker. But real leadership is emotional leadership, the ability to create an atmosphere where both people feel heard, valued, and free. When a man tries to control a woman's emotions or behavior, he unknowingly suppresses the very energy that makes her vibrant. The feminine energy cannot thrive under control, it only blossoms in freedom. But when a man offers direction through peace instead of pressure, she naturally follows his lead. Her trust grows because his energy says, "You are safe with me." Harmony begins when a man replaces control with understanding. Instead of forcing his point, he listens to hers. Instead of shutting down during conflict, he breathes and responds with awareness. He understands that his calmness is not weakness, it is guidance. His steadiness creates balance, allowing her emotions to flow freely without chaos. In that balance, she begins to soften. Her defenses fade, her love deepens, and the relationship moves from resistance to flow. A man who learns to harmonize with a woman's energy realizes that peace is not found in control, but in connection. This dance of harmony also teaches humility. A wise man knows that he doesn't need to win every disagreement to keep love alive. Sometimes harmony means stepping back, allowing her perspective to be seen and felt. Sometimes it means holding silence rather than reacting. Harmony is about rhythm, knowing when to lead, when to follow, and when to simply stand still. The feminine doesn't need perfection, she needs alignment. When she feels that the man beside her moves with intention rather than ego, she feels secure enough to express her full emotional depth. Love in harmony feels effortless because both partners are not trying to change each other. They are learning to flow together. The man brings grounded presence, the woman brings emotional energy, and together they create balance. He learns from her sensitivity, she learns from his strength. He shows her direction without control. She shows him compassion without chaos. This mutual exchange turns ordinary love into sacred connection. It is the merging of two worlds, logic and emotion, stability and flow, silence and expression. But achieving this harmony requires inner balance first. A man cannot harmonize with a woman if he is at war within himself. When his emotions are unresolved, he brings confusion into the relationship. When his mind is calm, he brings clarity. The more peace he cultivates inside, the easier it becomes to guide the energy of the relationship. That inner harmony radiates outward through his tone, his body language, his patience, and his presence. She feels it even without words. In the end, harmony over control is not just a relationship principle. It's a life principle. It's the difference between living in tension and living in flow. When a man learns to lead with empathy instead of ego, when he values peace over power, he begins to experience a love that nourishes instead of drains. The woman doesn't resist him because she feels guided, not confined. And he doesn't fear her emotions because he understands their rhythm. This is the ultimate dance of love, where both energies move as one, not because they are forced to, but because they choose to. Once a man understands this, control becomes meaningless, and harmony becomes his new strength. That is when love transforms from struggle into art, the art of two souls moving together in perfect, peaceful rhythm.